भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayamudirayet
Tato Jayamudirayet
Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Ruttama Sloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki
Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 Chapter 11 Verse 36 Uddhama Bhava Pishunamalaval Guhasa
Uttama Bhava Pishunamalaval Guhasa
Vridhavalokanihito Madano Piyasam
Vridhavalokanihato Madano Piyasam
Samuhya Chapam Ajahat Pramatho Tamasta
Samuhya Chapam Ajahat Pramodhamasta
Yasyendriyam Vimatitum Guhakairna Seku
Yasyendriyam Vimatitum Guhakairna Seku
Uddhama Bhava Pishunamalaval Guhasa
Uttama Bhava Pishunamalaval Guhasa
Vridhavalokanihato Madano Piyasam
Vridhavalokanihato Madano Apiyasam
Sammuhya Chapamajahat Pramadho Tamasta
Samuhya Chapam Ajahat Pramodhamasta
Yasyendriyam Vimutitum Guhakairna Seku
Yasyendriyam Vimatitum Guhakairna Seku
Uddhama Bhava Pishunamalaval Guhasa
Uttama Bhava Pishunamalaval Guhasa
Vridhavalokanihato Madano Piyasam
Vridhavalokanihato Madano Apiyasam
Sammuhya Chapamajahat Pramado Tamasta
Samuhya Chapam Ajahat Pramodhamasta
Yasyendriyam Vimaditum Guhakairna Seku
Yasyendriyam Vimatitum Guhakairna Seku.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindha Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Synonyms: Uddhama, very grave.
Uttama, very grave.
Bhava, expression.
Bhava, expression.
Pishuna, exciting.
Pishuna, exciting.
Amala, spotless.
Amala, spotless.
Valguhasa, beautiful smiling.
Valguhasha, beautiful smiling.
Valguhasa, beautiful smiling.
Vridha, corner of the eye.
Vridha, corner of the eye.
Avaloka, looking.
Avaloka,
looking.
Nihata, concord.
Nihata, concord.
Madhana, Cupid, or Amadhana, the greatly tolerant Shiva.
Madana, Cupid,
or Amadhana, the greatly tolerant Shiva.
Api, also.
Api, also.
Yeah, Sam, whose?
Yeah, Sam. Who's?
Yasam, who's
Sammukhya, being overpowered by.
Samuya being
Samuhya, being
overpowered by.
overpowered by.
Chapam, bows.
Chapam
Chapam,
bows.
bows.
Ajahat, gave up.
Ajahat
Arjahat
gave
gave
up.
up.
Pramada, woman who maddens. Hare Krishna.
Pramada,
Pramada,
woman
woman
who
who
maddens.
Class le reke. Uttama, of high grade.
Uttama of high
Uttama,
grade.
high grade.
Tha, all.
Ta all.
Yasya, whose.
Yasya whose.
whose.
Indriyam, senses.
Indriyam
Indriyam senses.
senses.
Vimatitum, to perturb.
Vimatitum to perturb.
To perturb.
Kuhakai, by magical feats.
Kuhakai, by magical feet.
By magical feats.
No, never.
No,
Never.
Sekhu was able.
Seku was able.
Translation, please repeat after me. Although the queen's beautiful smiles and furtive glances were all spotless and exciting,
Although the queen's beautiful smiles
and furtive glances were all spotless
and exciting,
and although they could conquer Cupid himself by making him give up his bow in frustration,
and although they could conquer
Cupid
himself
by making him give up his bow in frustration,
and even though tolerant Shiva could fall victim to them,
and although even
the
tolerant Shiva could fall victim
to them,
still, despite all their magical feats and attractions,
despite all their magical feats and
attractions,
they could not agitate the senses of the Lord.
They could not agitate the senses of the Lord.
Purport. The path of salvation or the path going back to Godhead always forbids the association of women, and the complete Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma scheme forbids or restricts association with women. How then can one be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is addicted to more than 16,000 wives? This question may be relevantly raised by inquisitive persons really anxious to know about the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. And to answer such questions, the sages at Naimisharanya have discussed the transcendental character of the Lord in this and in the following verses. It is clear herein that the feminine attractive features which can conquer Cupid or even the supermost tolerant Lord Shiva could not conquer the senses of the Lord. Cupid's business is to invoke mundane lust. The whole universe is moving, being agitated by Cupid's arrow. The activities of the world are being carried on by the central attraction of male and female. A male is searching after a mate to his liking, and the female is looking after a suitable male. That is the way of material stimulus. And as soon as a male is combined with a female, the material bondage of the living being is at once tightly interlocked by sex relation. And as a result of this, both the male's and female's attraction for sweet home, motherland, bodily offspring, society and friendship, and accumulation of wealth becomes the illusory field of activities, and thus a false but indefatigable attraction for the temporary material existence, which is full of miseries, is manifest. Those who are therefore on the path of salvation for going back home back to Godhead are specially advised by all scriptural instruction to become free from such paraphernalia of material attraction. And that is possible only by the association of the devotees of the Lord, who are called the Mahatmas. Cupid throws his arrow upon the living beings to make them mad after the opposite sex, whether the party is actually beautiful or not. Cupid's provocations are going on even among beastly societies who are all ugly looking in the estimation of the civilized nations. Thus, Cupid's influence is exerted even amongst the ugliest forms, and what to speak of the most perfect beauties? Lord Shiva, who is considered to be most tolerant, was also struck by Cupid's arrow because he also became mad after the Mohini incarnation of the Lord and acknowledged himself to be defeated. Cupid, however, was himself captivated by the grave and exciting dealings of the goddesses of fortune, and he voluntarily gave up his bow and arrow in a spirit of frustration. Such was the beauty and attraction of the queens of Lord Krishna. Yet they could not disturb the transcendental senses of the Lord. This is because the Lord is all perfect, Atmarama, or self-sufficient. He does not require anyone's extraneous help for his personal satisfaction. Therefore, the queens could not satisfy the Lord by their feminine attractiveness, but they satisfied him by their sincere affection and service. Only by unalloyed transcendental loving service could they satisfy the Lord, and the Lord was pleased to treat them as wives in reciprocation. Thus, being satisfied by their unalloyed service only, the Lord reciprocated the service just like a devout husband. Otherwise, he had no business becoming the husband of so many wives. He is the husband of everyone, but to one who accepts him as such, he reciprocates. This unalloyed affection for the Lord is never to be compared to mundane lust. It is purely transcendental. And the grave dealings which the queens displayed in the natural feminine ways were also transcendental because the feelings were expressed out of transcendental ecstasy. It is already explained in the previous verse that the Lord appeared like a mundane husband, but factually his relation with his wives was transcendental, pure, and unconditioned by the modes of material nature.
हरि ओम तत्सत् ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताक स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमो आचार्यपदाय निताय कृपप्रदाय गौरकथा धामधाय नगरग्रामतारिणे नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादे पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hariharaya Nama, Krishna Yadavaya Nama, Gopala Govinda Ram, Sri Madhusudanam. Mukam karo divachalam pangun langai tegiri madkripatama mande Sri Gurundinatharinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Vishwaram. Hari Om Tat Sat. So very beautiful words, and you can see the translation, and then the purport is more beautiful. And although the Queen's beautiful smiles and furtive glances. Furtive glances means from the corner of the eyes looking very beautifully is called a furtive glance. We're all spotless and exciting. The beauty point here is they are amala. Amala means material or contaminated. Amala means spotless. So the queens are transcendental. Their beautiful smiles are transcendental. Their furtive glances were all transcendental. They are spotless and they are very exciting. Although they could conquer Cupid himself by making him give up his bow in frustration. So the Cupid is the one who is capable of agitating any living entity, including Lord Shiva. So he is called Madana. So Madan means Cupid, who is the attractive with his arrow. He throws that arrow and make any living entity sedative. So attracted to the sex. Even unattractive living being like camels will be attracted to each other by the Cupid. So that is the power of Cupid. Even that particular Cupid, by looking at the behavior of these transcendental ladies and their beautiful smiles, he gives up his arrow in frustration that he does not have any, attraction or power to attract anybody. That is the, spotless beauty and spotless beautiful smiles and the furtive glances of the queens of Dwaraka. So this is completely, a different description that we need to understand. Nothing material can be compared to this beauty. And most tolerant. Shiva is called most tolerant, and even he can fall victim to them. That is the very beautiful behavior, because Lord Shiva has agreed that he is also, fallen, or he is also conditioned by the beauty of Mohini, which is one of the incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So all the magical fiats in such a sedative this thing, and very affectionate also, in the servile attitude they are situated. Pure unalloyed loving devotional service is the only thing that they know, and the Lord is the only person they know. And so they completely surrendered, Atma Nivedana, wives of this Krishna. So with all this attraction, they failed to agitate the senses of the Lord. That is called Hrishikesha. Krishika Isha is the master of all the senses. His senses can never ever be agitated by any amount of beauty, any amount of furtive glance, any amount of attraction, of any kind, anywhere, either in this material world or spiritual. Even Dwaraka Dama is not material. There also, his senses would not be agitated. Such a person is Krishna. But he says, Bhaktya Mama Bijanati. Only by pure, unalloyed, loving service, they can attract Krishna. That is the only way. That is the only way. Sanatana Dharma means, performing devotional service to Krishna. That is the only way you can attract Krishna. Otherwise, people may think that man and women are attracted to any living entity in any body. They may be in 14 planetary system. The opposite sex are attracted to each other. of the same kind, of course. Okay, a man is not attracted by an animal, or animal is not attracted by man. Okay, man is attracted by woman, woman is attracted by man. Similarly, in the animal gender also, male and female are attracted to each other. So that is the creation. That is how the creation, and that's the most powerful weapon of Maya to keep us in the material world, to keep us away from Krishna. This is the most powerful weapon of Maya, is the sexual attraction. So, but Krishna, he had 16,108 beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wives. And their beautiful glances and smile is so much that even Cupid fails at frustration. And even they cannot agitate the senses of Krishna. So that's the point, So Prabhupada in purport is telling about this attraction that inquisitive persons may really raise the question that how then can one be accepted as a Supreme Personality of Godhead who is addicted to more than 16,000 wives? So this question is answered in this particular words, that he is not agitated. He is not attracted. He has married 16,108 wives because of their devotion, because of their desire, because they have worshipped Katyayani to get Krishna as their husband, because to save them, he has conquered them from the Ashura. And then they won Krishna's heart by their devotion, not by their beauty. That should be understood. With all their beauty and glances, they could not agitate Lord's senses, is proved here. But still he has got them as his wife. Why? It is the devotion. Many of them he went and conquered, fought and, kidnapped. That much attraction Krishna had. Bhaktya mama vijanati. Devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna. So here, the sages in the Naimisharanya, they have discussed the transcendental character of the Lord. Very beautifully. So, if you see, only by the servile attitude, it is possible to attract Krishna, and all of them have been engaged in the devotional service. Because they cannot attract the beauty and attraction of the queens of Krishna is actually, beyond explainable, actually. Beyond. Even the Cupid gives up his arrow in frustration. Such is the beauty. But they cannot disturb the transcendental senses of the Lord. Why? Because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, is Atma Rama, is self-sufficient, is all attractive. Who can attract Krishna? He doesn't require anyone's extraneous help for his personal satisfaction. So the queens actually could not satisfy the Lord by their any kind of feminine attractive. But Krishna says, I am purchased by the pure unalloyed loving devotional service. So the queen satisfied him by their sincere affection and service. Unalloyed loving devotional service. Affection and service means loving devotional service. Only by unalloyed transcendental loving service could they satisfy the Lord. Otherwise, there is no chance. So that is the point where Krishna accepted them as his wives. Not because of their beauty or glances or anything, but because of their devotion, their loving devotional service. He has accepted them for their own benefit as his wives. This is the beauty of Krishna, which surpasses any beauty. So, Krishna gets satisfied only by unalloyed service. Unalloyed service. And he will reciprocate to them 100%. As per their desire. Otherwise, why should Krishna become husband of so many wives? He is husband of everyone, because everyone is Prakriti, Purusha, Prakriti. And who is Purusha? Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Krishna is the only Purusha Okay, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabritya. Only Krishna is the supreme controller. He is the only husband of all Prakriti. Prakriti means energy of Krishna, living entity. Prakriti is three. Stri, Bhunkte, Bhojayate Chaiva. So Stri, Prakriti means Stri. Prakriti, we are all living entities are Prakriti. We are not Purusha. Nobody is Purusha. It is not that some living entities are Purusha, some living entities are Prakriti. No, it's not possible. Only the supreme living entity is the only Purusha, Govindamadi Purusha, and all others are Prakriti. Prakriti means subordinate energy and Striling. Prakriti means Stri. Stri means, wife or mother, like that. So, Krishna is the husband of not so many wives, but he is the husband of all. So he is the husband of everyone. Everyone. Okay. And who accept him with unalloyed love, he reciprocates. So only the unalloyed loving devotional service or unalloyed affection and service can attract Krishna. And that cannot be compared with the mundane lust in material world. Here the so-called love is nothing but lust. Love is perverted reflection is lust. Love on Krishna as perverted reflection of lust on another living entity. So that is the perverted reflection. But actually it is true love for Krishna that we have. But because we come in contact with the material mode of nature and then we forgot Krishna, the love for Krishna, how can it exist when you forgot Krishna? So the love is converted into lust. And the lust is happening on each other. So this is the material existence. But actually the unalloyed affection for Krishna, which everyone has, is purely transcendental. Purely transcendental. So here, the queen of Dwaraka, whatever feminine ways they have expressed or displayed is also transcendental. It is not material. It is not lusty look they have given upon him. It is the transcendental affection in ecstasy that they are seeing him. This is very important. Yesterday also we saw that. How the Lord appeared like a mundane husband, but factually his relation with his wife was transcendental, pure, unconditional by any mode of material nature, goodness, passion, or ignorance. So this transcendental nature should be understood, and Naimisharanya rishis are trying to explain the transcendental activities of the Lord, or trying to explain the Lord's activities are transcendental. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvatha. So when one understands a living entity, conditioned living entity like me, when understands that, oh, this is transcendental and this is not material. So Krishna is all transcendental. His appearance is transcendental. His activities are transcendental. Transcendental means not connected to any material modes of nature, as I perceive. So as soon as one understands in tattva, in truth, then he is said to be liberated. So let's go to the next verse. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, verse 37. Tam ayam manyate loko.
Tam ayam
manyate loko.
Hiya sangham apisanginam.
Hiya asangam
apisanginam.
Atmaupam yena manujam.
Atmaupamyena manujam.
Vyaprunvanam yato buddha.
Vyaprinvanam yato buddha.
Tam ayam manyate loko.
Tam ayam manyate loko.
Hi asangam apisanginam.
Hi asangam apisanginam.
Atmaupam yena manujam.
Atmaupamena manujam.
Vyaprunvanam yato buddha.
Vyaprinvanam yato buddha.
Tam ayam manyate loko.
Tam ayam manyate loko.
Kiya sangham apisanginam.
Kriya
Sangam
Sangam
Apisanginam
Atmaupamyena Manucham
Atmaupamyam
Atmaupamyena
Manujam
Manujam
Yaprunvanam Yato Buddha.
Vyaprinvanam Yato
Vyaprinvanam Yato
Buddha
Buddha.
Synonyms: Tham unto Lord Krishna.
Tam unto Lord Krishna.
I am all these common men.
I
I
am
am
all
all
these
these
common
common
men.
men.
Manyate, do speculate within the mind.
Manyate, do
Do
speculate within
speculate
the
within the
mind.
mind.
Lokha, the conditioned souls.
Loka, the conditioned souls.
Loka, the conditioned souls.
He certainly
He
He
certainly,
certainly
asangam unattached.
Asangam
Sangam
unattached,
unattached.
Api in spite of.
Api in
Api in
spite
spite
of,
of.
Sanginam affected.
Sangam
Sangam
affected,
affected.
Atma self.
Atma
Atma
self,
self.
Anupamyena by comparison with the self.
Anupam Yena by
Upamena by
comparison with the self,
comparison with the self.
Manujam, ordinary man.
Manujam,
Manujam, ordinary
ordinary
man.
man.
Yaprinvanam, being engaged in.
Vyaprinvanam,
Vyaprinvanam,
being
being
engaged
engaged
in.
in.
Yatha, because.
Yata,
Yata, because.
because.
Abuddha, foolish because of ignorance.
Buddha,
Abuddha, foolish
foolish
because
because
of
of
ignorance.
ignorance.
Translation, please repeat after me. The common materialistic conditioned souls
The common
The
materialistic
common
conditioned
materialistic
souls
conditioned souls
speculate that the Lord is one of them.
speculate
speculate
that
that
the
the
Lord
Lord
is
is
one of
one of
them.
them.
Out of their ignorance, they think that
Out of
Out
their
of their
ignorance, they
ignorance, they
think
think
that
that
the Lord is affected by matter, although he is
the,
unattached.
the Lord is
the
affected by
Lord is
matter,
affected by
although
matter,
he is
although he is
unattached.
unattached.
Purport: the word Abuddha is significant here due to ignorance only. The foolish, mundane wranglers misunderstand the Supreme Lord and spread their foolish imaginations among innocent persons by propaganda. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the original primeval personality of Godhead. And when he was personally present before the eyes of everyone, he displayed full fledged divine potency in every field of activities. As we have already explained in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is completely independent to act however he likes, but all his actions are full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. Only the foolish mundaners misunderstand him, unaware of his eternal form of knowledge and bliss, which is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. His different potencies work in a perfect plan of natural sequence and doing everything by the agency of his different potencies. He remains eternally the supreme independent. When he descends to the material world by his causeless mercy to different living beings, he does so by his own potency. He is not subject to any condition of the material modes of nature, and he descends as he is originally. The mental speculators misunderstand him as the supreme person, and they consider his impersonal features as inexplicable Brahman to be all. Such a conception is also the product of conditioned life because they cannot go beyond their own personal capacity. Therefore, one who considers the Lord on the level of one's limited potency is only a common man. Such a man cannot convince that the personality of Godhead is always unaffected by the modes of material nature. He cannot understand that the sun is always unaffected by infectious matter. The mental speculators compare everything from the standpoint of experimental knowledge of their own selves. Thus, when the Lord is found to act like an ordinary person in matrimonial bondage, they consider him to be like one of them, without considering that the Lord can at once marry 16,000 wives or more. Due to the poor fund of knowledge, they accept one side of the picture while disbelieving the other. This means that due to ignorance only, they always think of Lord Krishna as like themselves and make their own conclusions, which are absurd and unauthentic from the version of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hari Om Tat Sat. So very beautifully, this verse is explaining that the common materialistic conditioned souls, they only can speculate about the Lord and their speculation is limited to their personal experience in the bodily concept of life. So they cannot understand that there is something beyond the three modes of material nature, or there is something beyond matter, antimatter. They cannot even imagine that. Their speculation also has the limited within the material sphere of life. There is no way for them to understand this particular transcendental nature of the Lord, unless otherwise they give up their mental speculation and surrender unto a bona fide devotee of the Lord, who knows the Lord in truth. Jnaninas tattva darshinaha. So in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned, Namam druskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama mayaya apahridanyana asurim bhavam asrita. So these four type of men are called common men, who is foolish. Why they are foolish? Because they see Krishna as an ordinary human being, just because out of mercy Krishna displays his transcendental activities in the form of human to attract all the conditioned souls. But these souls, instead of getting attracted to Krishna and his uncommon activities, they consider himself to be one amongst them. So this is foolish. Always in every crowd there are fools. What can be done? For that reason, Krishna cannot stop coming, because there are also intelligent persons. So Krishna wants to attract all the souls to claim them back home, back to Godhead. So he is coming here and he is displaying in our visibility, mundane material eyes, he is becoming visible by his costless mercy only. But if that also is misinterpreted, what can be spoken about the unfortunate situation of such fallen, conditioned, ignorant fools? So this is very beautifully explained by Srila Prabhupada also in this particular purport of this verse, by taking the term abuddha. Due to ignorance. Ignorance means one who does not know Krishna. One who forget Krishna is called to be placed in the ignorance, and is a fool. And they, even if God comes in front of them, because they forget Krishna and the relationship between him and Krishna, what happens is they misunderstand. And they speculate with their, material subtle mind, which has very limited experience within the sphere of material existence. And they also propagate as if their speculation is, a big creativity, and they are very intelligent, and they make other ignorant fools. An ignorant fool speculates to make other ignorants more fools. And the other innocent persons, they also believe, and they run behind this blind man who cannot perceive Krishna through any of his senses. Actually, Krishna is called Adokshaja. He cannot be perceived through any of the senses. Adokshaja, Ado Akshaja means he is beyond all the senses perception. But somehow he is very kind, that Sevan Mukhehi Jikhvado. When we speak of Krishna, when we chant the holy name of Krishna, and when we hear it through the ears, yes, Krishna can be perceived also. But when we hear it from the bona fide souls, one who knows Krishna, one who has perceived Krishna, one who does not possess material mundane senses, such is the quality of the spiritual masters. They do not have material senses. Just like Krishna appears here as if he's an ordinary human being in order to attract the living entities, so are the spiritual masters who descend from the transcendental realm from Krishna also display themselves as if they are ordinary human being, and their senses are transcendental. So when we hear from such a person who is not bound by the modes of material nature, even by goodness, then we can, perceive Krishna. Otherwise, by our dint of mental speculation or any senses of material mundane sense, Krishna cannot be perceived, is beyond all the senses. So how can this particular person who is beyond any senses can be understood? Because senses are media for us to understand. Senses are the media of knowledge and everything. And how he is beyond the senses, how can he catch that person who is beyond the range of all our senses? Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje. Only by performing devotional service, that Adokshaja, who cannot be captured by any sense, can be captured. Bhaktyamam Abhijanati. So this is the beautiful secret formula and known only to the pure devotees. And they come down and they give us their association. When we hear about Krishna from such personalities like Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, then yes, we will be able to perceive Krishna to a certain extent. Rupa Goswami has given 64 qualities of Krishna. Inconceivable Krishna can be conceived to a certain extent by the limited living being, subject to the condition they receive it from the bona fide souls of transcendental senses personalities, such as spiritual master. So that is the only way to understand Krishna. Otherwise, it is impossible. It is impossible because the Supreme Lord Krishna, he is the original primeval personality. And when he came and he made himself visible in the eyes of everyone, the mundane wranglers, he displayed full-fledged divine potency in every field of activities. But these fools cannot understand by dint of their speculation. They think him like themselves only. Because they are conditioned, they think the Lord is also conditioned. But it is not true. He is completely independent. In the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 1, we say, Abhignya Swarat, Abhignya Swarat, and he is cognizant. He knows everything. He is conscious of all his created beings. Directly or indirectly, is conscious of all his created beings. And he is independent, Swarat. Nothing can control Krishna other than bhakti, pure, unalloyed, loving devotion service is the only thing that can control Krishna. Otherwise, Krishna is uncontrollable, unconquerable, unimaginable, unreachable, untouchable. Even through any kind of senses fine-tuned, you cannot even approach Krishna, what to speak of then seeing him and everything. But by his mercy, he becomes visible because he is supremely independent and he can do anything he likes. But even he makes himself visible to the mundane eyes, through which you cannot really perceive. The foolish mundane wranglers misunderstand him. They cannot know his eternal form of knowledge and bliss. And this is Bhagavad Gita says that how it is. Brahma Samhita says Ishvara Paramakrishna Sad Chid Ananda Vigraha. His form is made up of eternity, full of knowledge and full of blissfulness. Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So he is the first Govinda, first Purusha, and he is the primal source of all the sources. So he primal cause of all the causes. So that is the power of Krishna. His different potencies unlimited. Krishna is unlimited, his potencies are also unlimited. And his different potency work in a perfect plan and in a particular order, a sequence. There will be morning, sunrise, there will be evening, sunset, the time is scheduled. Activities are scheduled. We have scheduled incarnations also. So everything is perfect. Plan of Supreme is always perfect. And when he descends to the material world, by his causeless mercy, and he does it not because of through the material mode of material nature that goodness, passion, and ignorance takes care of him, or he comes in contact with the material modes of nature just because we have come in contact. No, he doesn't touch material. He comes by his own potency, and his potencies are always internal potency, where he is displaying. That is not by external potency. External potency in which we are entangled. Lord does not get entangled. So he is always acted by his internal potency. He is not subject to any kind of condition of this material modes of nature. So this is to be understood. This is to be understood. You see? So he descends. He is not fallen like us. He descends. And he descends. When he descends, he is coming originally. He does not come to take a temporary body in the material world to show us a human form. No, there is no need for him to do that. He is supreme. He is supremely independent. He can do anything. The whole material manifestation is created by him. He need not take a body from the material mode of nature. He will come originally only. Only the mental speculators, they misunderstand him, because the mental speculator, they cannot come originally, no. They fallen and they taken a material body. So they think he is also like that. This is their ignorance. Because they think that originally Krishna has no form. That is their foolishness. The speculation, ultimate end to the speculation is that they think actually Krishna doesn't have a form. When Krishna doesn't have a form, then how can he can create forms? You tell me. One who has form only create forms and formlessness both. But one who does not have a form cannot create any form. So Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. He has the form made up of eternity, full of knowledge and blissfulness. Only by devotional service you can understand that. By performing devotional service, you will know what is the form of Krishna, how it is made up of, how does he looks like, how he accepts and reciprocates. All these things one will know by simple affection. Very simple. Okay, unalloyed. And affectional service. When we render service unto him, then it is possible. Otherwise, it is not possible to go beyond their own personal capacity. They think of him also like them. This is their, unfortunate situations. That just because you have limited potency, you cannot bring the Lord under your limited potency and consider him as one of the fools. No. So, this particular person, they cannot understand anything beyond the three modes of material nature. They cannot understand how it would be, what is transcendental, that they cannot understand. Just like the sun rays. The sun is not infected by anything material, though everywhere the sun is showing, and it is also purifying the filthy place. But it is not affected like that. Krishna may come here, but he is not affected by this material reactions and actions that need to be understood. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tatvatah. His appearance, his activities are totally transcendental to the material nature, material modes of nature. So these fools, then ignorance, who considers Krishna not a transcendental figure, they consider him to be like one of them only. They don't even consider that the Lord can at once marry 16,000 wives or more, which they cannot do. Even that much they don't, at least extraordinary, they don't consider. Because of poor fund of knowledge. That means they're accepting one side and they're rejecting the other side, because they cannot see. I cannot see anything beyond the wall. So I conclude after the wall is the end of the universe and there is nothing beyond the wall in the room. This is foolishness, no? So that foolishness they are doing. That is their conclusions. So their conclusions are rejected in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the authentic literature from the bona fide source when we receive that Abhijñā Swarat. Krishna is Abhijñā Swarat. The first verse, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janma tasya yatonvayati taratas Chardeshva Abhijñā Swarat Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kavaye Nuhyanti Yatsurayaha Tejo Varim Rutam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargham Rusham Damna Svena Swatha Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. In this first verse of first canto, first chapter, Krishna has been fully described by Vyasadeva in the form of submitting a Gayatri mantra here. Very beautiful. He is beyond all this manifestation, is conscious of all his creations, and he is independent, supremely independent, and he lives in the abode Dhamna Svena Satha Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. So that is Krishna. It's very clearly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam at the very beginning itself. Thank you very much. Anybody has any questions, comments, or realization, please do share with us.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Hare Krishna.
Sir, I have question from yesterday's class. So,
Yeah.
so you mentioned about, so yesterday we saw about Krishna's expansion, like he's expanding himself in 16,108 forms, and all the forms are like differently acting. When you narrated the pastime also, when Narad Muni visited Dwarka, he visited the first wife and he was asking, okay, eat. Then he visited the second wife. Again, Krishna is behaving like, okay, he's welcoming Narad Muni for the first time, and Narad Muni was shocked to see all this. So you also mentioned about the 10 expansions which Narad Muni and a man can have. So I wanted to know what was that, sir, the 10 expansions?
Means there is a capacity of the living entity. They can also expand it to 10 different persons in 10 different places. They can be present, but their activities would be the same. They cannot simultaneously act in 10 different ways. They cannot be engaged in 10 different activities at same time. They have to be engaged in same activity in 10 different places with the 10 different forms. That's the maximum capacity of a soul, living entity.
Okay, that means living entity also can have 10 expansions, but all the expansions will be acting at the same time, like not simultaneously, like different, but it same time only they will act.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That is the capacity of the living entity. If you want, you can expand yourself into 10 in 10 different places, but you lack the same activity you will be performing at same time.
Okay.
That is the capacity of living entity. Whereas this Krishna, he is unlimited expansions with the different activities, means he is a different person. In 10 expansion, we will remain the same person at different places. But when Krishna expands, he is a different person. That is the beauty of Krishna.
Got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Thank you very much for your association. So we'll assemble back again tomorrow at 7 o'clock for Srimad Bhagavatam class. Till then, Grandha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
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 Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai.
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 Bhagavad Satsang ki jai.
Jai.
Vaishnav Pranam.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Vaishnav Guru Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Hari
Hari Hari Bol.
Premanande.